Hi guys, this is AJ
And this is Courtney.
on Ocean's Books.
And stuff.
Today we're going to be doing a book discussion, not necessarily review, but more of our thoughts, opinions, everything like that, with one of our favorite books of all time, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone by J.K. Rowling. On this video we're actually going to be talking about the illustrated edition. We're going to be giving our thoughts about that one. We have read the other books before, but this is the version that myself and Courtney both read. So, when were you introduced to Harry Potter?
My mom actually got the book set when all four of them, the first four, were out, and she got us that for Christmas. And since I was still fairly young at that time, she was the one actually reading them to me. I think part of the reason she got them was because she wanted to like bond with me in that kind of a way. Because she only read them with me. Like, I had a little brother, but he was 3 years younger than me, so he just, attention span wise, wasn't old enough. So he'd go to bed, and I got to stay up like an extra half hour so my mom could read me like a chapter a day out of the books. So that's where I first was introduced.
If your mom read them to you, did you read the Sorcerer's Stone on your own before?
Honestly, I can't remember if I read the first ones again on my own. If I did, it was probably still when I was really young.
So
like
this
maybe
is probably the one where you've read on your own for a fact.
Yeah, it's been so long that I actually don't remember. I didn't remember like the book version at all.
Which I'm surprised, because I thought Courtney might have read them more, because I know she like grew up with them more, even though we probably share the same amount of love for them. So I watched all the movies pretty much when they came out, but I didn't start reading them until the third movie came out. No, actually it was when the third movie came out, because I was like, I want to watch the movies, I want to read the books before the movies come out now. So I started reading them around 2004. So I was actually older, so I was like 11 or 12. But I also remember, so I read all of them back to back about 3.5 years ago. So I think this was a really awesome reminder of why I love the Harry Potter books so much, and it was really, really awesome to read the illustrated editions. So we actually read the illustrated editions together. We got these ones around Christmas time, and Courtney was lucky enough to find one at the library. So go check out your local library if you ever want to read these, because they're quite expensive. They're really nice, but when we first started reading them, you actually kind of got a head start on me. But what were your first impressions when you like first started reading the book, since you actually haven't read them in a long time?
So just starting right off from the first chapter, how it opens up with like Vernon Dursley going around his business and going to work, and I was like, what? The book starts out like
way different from
about his story. Yeah, it's like different, because I just remember the movie so well now that I was thinking that the book started out with him being like dropped off or something, and then it turns out that it's more like setting up the family that he gets dropped off with, and the conversations that McGonagall and Dumbledore had together and everything. I'm just like, yeah, okay, I don't remember any of this.
So did you like the first chapter though?
I mean, it just kind of seemed like it was like,
because
this
of
is
the
what
Dursleys?
happened, this is what happened next, and now this is happening, this is odd, Mr. Dursley thinks this is weird, okay.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, okay.
So we won't try to jump ahead a lot and talk about like all the other books, because we really want to put the focus on like, this is the first story, this is the first year in a set of 7. But for me personally, even though I like, weird choice of word, even though I like the Dursleys and like what they do in all the books, I really felt like this didn't set up the tone of the books very well. Like the first chapter is probably one of the only ones, if any. I love this book a lot, but the first chapter, I don't know, made me feel like I didn't like it as much. I don't know, just like what you were saying, like it starts with like you being introduced to these characters, and then halfway through the chapter, that's when we see Dumbledore, McGonagall. It just felt really awkward for me. Did you, what did you think about like the characters though? Because for me personally, I thought Dumbledore and McGonagall felt a little different in the first chapter than the rest of the book.
Yeah, and you did mention though how it had been like 11 years later, so there's like a gap, but it did, like McGonagall, I feel like she was probably the more different one.
Yeah, In my opinion, and again, I could be completely wrong, because this was J.K. Rowling's first book. A lot of people already know her like success story and everything, but I feel like this was a chapter to where she wrote it, set it aside for quite a long time, and then she was like, you know what, I'm gonna write a book, and then she wrote the rest of the book. Because again, like the first chapter just feels so different compared to the rest of the book, and I don't know, just I did like though. Because this doesn't happen a lot, but they did put in some nice like Easter eggs in the first chapter to where like it kind of leads into like the next books, and you wouldn't know that until you read them. But did you catch any of those?
You're gonna have to remind me.
So I really liked how they're like, Hagrid, where did you get the motorbike from? He's like, I got it from Sirius Black, and nobody knows who Sirius Black is until book 3, so that's 2 books ahead.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, like things like that. I really thought that was cool, because I think one of the main reasons why everybody loves Harry Potter so much is just the universe. Just like it feels like its own world, and I like how you could tell she knew what she was. Well, she had an idea of where she wanted to take the book series.
Yeah.
So everybody knows, almost everybody knows what Harry Potter is and why it's extremely popular. One of the things that brought me back into wanting to read this, honestly, was the illustrations. Courtney grew up with these. I didn't really do that a whole lot, but even though I still love them, this just made it so much better. If you guys haven't gotten a chance to read these, read this with the illustrations. It's so worth it. What did you feel like when you were like reading and then like you saw like the really beautiful pictures?
I liked it because it separated. It gave you a chance to slow down and actually look at the pictures while you were reading and envision it in a different way than you do from what we've seen in the movies. Because these pictures, these illustrations are like the way that Harry is drawn and the way that Ron is drawn. It's not like he was trying to make them look similar to the actors. Like it's his own way based on what the writing says.
Yeah.
It's created from that content, and so we get like another version of like what these characters look like through his eyes, through Jim Kay's eyes. So I really like that.
I also really loved the illustrations. I feel like it really emphasized and heightened what you were reading. Because for me, I have a pretty bad habit, and I really try not to do this. If I read a book that is like a movie adaptation, it's hard to get the movie stuff out of my head, and it's just you're thinking about what happens. But this one, like, it did help me out because again, through the lens of Jim Kay, the illustrator, you really see how he saw Harry Potter and what he saw in his mind when he was reading these books, and it helped me see the story in my own eyes as well, like a whole lot better in my mind. So I know a lot of people already know what Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone is about, but just in case you are one of the ones who haven't read the book, we'll just go over a brief plot of it. So Harry Potter is, of course, about Harry Potter, an 11-year-old boy who finds out that he is a wizard. He does live, like what Courtney was saying, with the Dursleys. This is his aunt and uncle. He does not live with his parents because he is an orphan. His parents were killed when he was a little baby, and as the story progresses, when he learns that he's a wizard, he learns that his parents were actually killed by a dark wizard. That plays into when they go to Hogwarts. He meets all of his best friends, and it just revolves around Sorcerer's Stone. So it does play out more we're learning who he is, we're learning who his friends are, we're learning what how the wizarding world is different from the Muggle or regular human world, and it's just a good beginning story of year one. So Courtney, tell us about the characters and what kind of roles they play in the story.
As far as the kids, I would say the main characters are Harry Potter, Ron Weasley, Hermione Granger, Draco Malfoy, Neville Longbottom. Those are like the main kids that are in this book that are talked about the most. As far as teachers go, Professor McGonagall, Professor Snape, Professor Quirrell, and then Hagrid the Gameskeeper, and then Dumbledore in like the middle and the end is where he kind of comes in.
Yeah, and so all these different characters, we shift the focus from, again, the Muggle or human world to the school. So we get to the school. It's actually pretty surprising. You don't get to the school until like a third of the way through the book. So it takes quite a long. So again, this is more of a setup story in my opinion compared to the rest of it. The reasons why I myself and Courtney like it a lot is just how real the world feels like. So this feels like a real school. This feels like its own like universe and stuff. It's so if you guys are unfamiliar, so there are 4 schoolhouses, which are
Slytherin, Gryffindor, Hufflepuff, and Ravenclaw.
If you guys haven't taken the test, you guys should totally take the test on, what's the website called?
Pottermore.
Yeah. If you guys want to know what we are, I think it's still a little embarrassing, but you should tell them.
Well, okay, we both did this by ourselves, and so there was no cheating involved, but somehow we both ended up together in Hufflepuff.
Yeah. It's not embarrassing. I still think it's funny. But you do get to know a whole lot more. Because again, there's like a lot of world building in this. Hufflepuffs, which is the one that we're in, the class.
One.
Yeah. They're more of like the laid back, they just kind of, the background, they don't, they could, they could have their own attributes toward like they're brave, they're smart, but they, even though they are like that, they're really laid back. Compared to like Ravenclaw, they're more known to be like the really smart ones, like the top achievers, really cunning. Slytherin is also like really cunning. They're more, how would you phrase it? Because they're not all dark, but this is more
maybe mischievous.
Yeah, mischievous compared to like the brave and courageous Gryffindor. So if you were to compare them, I'd say Gryffindor and Slytherin are always, they're the top 2 ones. They're the ones who always go head to head. So yeah, they all feel very different. In your opinion, what's your favorite class?
I just always liked Ravenclaw because I thought it sounded cool, and I liked the blue color and the fact that they're known to be like smarter and stuff like that. And I just kind of thought it'd be cool to be like in Ravenclaw because they're not like, you know, Gryffindor and Slytherin. It's always like them, like you just said, like kind of the heat's always on them a little bit more.
Yeah.
And it'd be kind of nice to be in Ravenclaw where you're just kind of doing your own thing. But I guess Hufflepuff in a way does the same thing. So.
Yeah. So with, she doesn't really, J.K. Rowling doesn't really build out the classes a whole lot. She really puts the focus more on Gryffindor and Slytherin because that's where our main characters are at. So a lot of them are going to be in Gryffindor or Slytherin. The characters, though, you do have Harry Potter. He is the main character. He is the boy who lived. He is the one who went through the traumatic experience, and he is the main character throughout the whole entire book. He does meet Ron Weasley, who is his best friend, and their other best friend is Hermione Granger. So the Weasleys, there are other Weasleys, so like Fred and George, twin brothers. They have Percy, the prefect, which is like, what would you compare it to in Muggle world? What's like a prefect in school?
Like student body
like
officer.
Student body officer, yeah. Like they're the ones who like kind of overachieve and they feel really proud of what they're doing at the school. The Weasleys are known to be the poor family. They didn't grow up with a whole lot. They are all like wizard based. But I found that really interesting. And then with Miss Granger, Hermione Granger, the third best friend, she is the smartest out of honestly the whole entire school grade. Yeah. She is. She throws a different dynamic into the group because just kind of like Harry, her parents are Muggles. So she actually found out very late that she was a wizard or a witch. Sorry. Harry though has like Muggle families like the Dursleys, but his parents are wizards. So out of those 3 though, who did you connect with most, and like who was your favorite?
I couldn't even tell you because Hermione, reading it in the book, I was like, dang, Hermione's annoying. Like, more annoying than I thought. Well, just like in a know-it-all way, to where it's like I could see why Ron was always like, oh annoyed. My gosh, shut up. Like, I could see why he was like that. But then again, I felt like Ron was kind of rude, but of course he's 11, so, you know. And so And then of course Harry's just like
he's just like,
you know, he's just there and he's like, we are my friends and I want to discover what the Sorcerer's Stone is. And so he's kind of like the leader. And so I don't consider myself a leader. I don't consider myself a know-it-all. And I hope that I'm not like a mean teenagey boy. Like
so that's so weird because Hermione was my favorite and is my favorite. Like I didn't find her annoying.
Well, I mean, I love
like it
her,
actually.
But in this book, once she mellowed out a little more, I was like, okay, yeah.
So if you guys are only familiar with this because of the movies, she actually doesn't become like their best friend until more than halfway through the book. So, and it's not that she's not in the story, it's just she's more of a character, kind of like what Courtney's saying. She like kind of annoying. That's the thing, I didn't find her annoying. Like she is a know-it-all, and yes, like I think Snape also says like, you're such a know-it-all, quit being annoying, but I didn't find her to be that way. I don't know, I found her character really interesting. What I do like about this though is that it doesn't focus on just those three. Like what Courtney was saying, like we still have like Malfoy, we still have Neville Longbottom, characters like that. How did you like them in the story, like Malfoy and like the teachers, all that?
I think they were all good.
Yeah.
Like the way that they were, like they, you know, it would have been a longer story if they went more into like Neville and Malfoy and stuff. I feel like, and Malfoy, I feel like in the book you get a little bit more of him trying to like get them in trouble and like, kind of being more like even peskier in the book than in the movie.
And in this, I do agree with that. Like this isn't like a very character-driven story. Like it is, but it's mostly with just the three. So I would say if you've never read Harry Potter, really just go into this knowing that you're really just going to be focusing on the three main characters and what they're trying to do throughout the story, which is, again, figure out what the Sorcerer's Stone is, why people want it, and like again what the outcome is going to be with the whole entire story. Since a lot of people do know what the story is, why is this story important to you? Like book-wise, like what Harry Potter means to you, things like that.
Since I grew up having that memory of me and my mom, it's made it so that we were always excited for when a new book came out, and I started reading them on my own, like the later ones, and just being able to pick this up again and read it again and be put into a story of magic. Like if you think about any other stories out there about magic, I mean, if someone's like, what's your favorite story about magic? They're probably going to say Harry Potter because that's what's going to come to mind. And I really like how it's just kids going to school and growing up with that. It's like, oh, I wish I could like go to school and learn magic and live there. That sounds like so cool.
Yeah,
so
something you want to grow up with.
I feel like it's just a good story because it's based on what it's based on. I feel like it's easy to like get lost into that world and want to be in that world. And so that's why I like Harry Potter so much.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of that. This book really does mean a lot to me too, just because it makes you want to be in this world, because nobody wants to be like in the real world. It's like really boring. You can like go to regular school, you go to work. With here, like it really does like feel extremely magical. Like you can really get lost in this story very well, and just the following of the story, like what's the word for it? Just the group of people, like the community of people who love this story. Just it's one of the best. Like this is like they're very positive. You like if you meet somebody who loves Harry Potter, it's just like you can go like a very long time with just meeting and talking with them about that. Because like I mean, just like people at work, like again, nobody like goes to work and says I love Harry Potter, but like if it like comes up in random conversation, it's something that feels super awesome to talk about this. So if you haven't read these, I really urge you to read them. Again, do bear in mind though, it does feel like more of a setup to the world rather than like good in its own story. This is really just a setup of who these characters are, some very minimal backstory, but Courtney and I are super excited to read the next few books here in the series, where we are going to be doing the illustrated edition for book 2 and book 3 here really soon, and we look forward to making those videos. So, I know you don't really like to rate stuff, but what would you say about it?
I really like learning about all the characters and everything, and yes, since it was a setup, I wouldn't consider it my favorite book out of the series, but it is definitely one you have to read if you're gonna read the rest, because it's gonna help you understand the world, and so it's an important book, and so of course I would recommend reading it for sure.
Yeah, because if you like this book, I'd say you're gonna love the rest. So it's a really good introduction. For me personally, though, 3.5 years ago when I originally read it, I did rate it a 4 out of 5, just because again it was more of a setup story for me. But this time around, with I guess growing up a little bit more, I gave it a 5 out of 5. Just because even though it is a setup, I still love this world. I love all the characters. There wasn't a time, other than the first chapter, where I didn't want to continue reading. And all in all, to me, it's a perfect book. And it's just going to be a series that we're going to really enjoy talking about in the future. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching this video. We really do look forward. We're going to make more content about Harry Potter, so tell them what they could look out for.
Coming soon to a YouTube near you. We're going to be discussing book versus movies, and then the other illustrated videos, and or books.
Yeah, so we are going to be doing the other illustrated editions, but we're both super excited. We're going to be talking about like the differences between the book and the movie, and like what we might have liked more, what we might have liked less when comparing the two. So yeah, we definitely want you guys to check that out. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.